Hi readers! Welcome to our channel, Back That TBR Up. I'm Francis.
And I'm Talia.
And today we're going to be talking about all the books we read in the month of July. So the first book we're going to be talking about is our book of the month on Fable, our book club, and it was The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. It's the first book in the Dreamland Billionaire series.
4 stars for sure. I loved this book. I loved it so much. We loved it. And I think it's because it was so funny. It had us cackling.
The banter.
The banter was so cute, so hilarious.
It was just a good time. It reminded us of Disneyland a lot. Lots of comparisons there. The love story was super fun to follow. It got me in my romance era, I'm not gonna lie.
Fell back into romance because of this, you guys. Okay, so basically what it's about, because we didn't talk about that, it's like an owner of Disneyland and his grandpa dies. In his will has to create a project in order for him to get the shares of the company.
What?
And he meets this creator.
What was her name?
Zara.
That's right, this book follows.
We read this a while ago, so don't judge us. We've had a lot of books that we've read.
Yes, we sure did.
So he meets Zara and it just goes from there. It's kind of like a grumpy sunshine trope. It's so cute. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Again, it's called The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. Pick it up.
Okay, so my first book of the month was actually a recommendation from Lynn. And it was Normal People by Sally Rooney. It was my first Sally Rooney book, actually. I really liked it. I think I gave it a 4 stars, if not a 5. One thing I will say, it was a little bit of a transition to get into her style of writing because she doesn't have quotation marks.
What?
Throughout the whole book, yeah, so all the dialogue is just straight, like, sentences. But it was good. It follows a love story between 2 people, Connell and Marianne. They basically grew up together in high school, and she was not the cool girl and he was. So they were kind of dating on the low. But then they grow up, go to college, and then the tables kind of switch. And she's kind of more social than he is. They link back up. And it's just the classic story of right person, wrong time, never getting it right. But I liked it a lot. And apparently it's a show on Hulu. I have yet to watch it, but I've heard really good things about it.
Aww, that's cute. Okay, since we're doing romance, I'm gonna just do all the romance tropes that I've had. I'm not doing them in order. Twisted Love. I kept hearing on TikTok, Book Talk, Bookstagram that this was it. And I borrowed it from Deja. Thank you, Deja. So if you haven't heard of this, it's about Alex and Ava. Alex is like this grumpy millionaire or whatever. And then Ava is his best friend's sister. And so his best friend goes off and he promises his best friend that he's gonna take care of her. It's a romance, and it's spicy. I give it like a 3. It was cool. But the story, it's not for me. I'm sorry. It didn't do it for me. And I know I'm gonna get some heat for it. Sorry guys, but I like what I like and this was not it. But if you like it, I'm not judging you. You do what you do.
So the next book I read this month was Disorientation by Elaine Chu. I read it on my Kindle. This one was new for me. I say that because it was a very bizarre fiction. A lot of it read like a fever dream. It follows a grad student, I believe her name is Ingrid. She's in her 8th year of her grad program. It follows her discovering that this Chinese poet that she's been studying for the past 8 years is actually a white man.
Oh hell no!
Was doing yellowface for like the longest time. It touches on a lot of important subjects. Being an Asian American in higher education, it can be a little tough when it comes to culture and culture appropriation. I definitely recommend it if you're into that. I also have Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. It's supposed to be a similar story. I'm interested to see how similar it is and how both of them approach it differently. So
Yellowface is right
it's
here.
up there. So
It's right here. So the next one I have If we're getting into the spice.
Oh, here we go.
We get spicy. The spice. It's getting a little hot in here. Y'all don't know spice until you read this. Praise. So I borrowed this from you. We grown. It's okay. Look. Praise. So for the longest time, I was in a fantasy mood, but then she told me to borrow this. It was so good. I couldn't put it down right when I got it. I finished this, like in a day? I finished it in a day. So Charlie has to get her money from the apartment that her and her ex-boyfriend left from her ex-boyfriend's dad, which is Emerson. When she does that, she gets a job and works under him. It's a romance, but it's a spicy book, so be prepared. This thing is like 5 spice. Naughty. It's a naughty book. If you're not into naughty, don't look it up. Be prepared. Warning. I gave this what did I give this? I give this 5 star? I think I gave this a 5 star. Yeah.
I'm not mad. And as you will see, she very quickly after this entered her smut era.
I sure did. Okay. I wanted to spice. I wanted to wait on the end. So if you're not into that.
It's like age gap.
Yeah, it's age gap trope.
Mm-hmm.
This has to go to in the back. In the back of yeah.
So the next book I read was Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. It follows Elizabeth Zott, and she's a chemist, I believe in the 50s. I think it touches a lot on important aspects of being a woman in a male-dominant field, such as science back then. It was super funny. It made me cry. It really did, yeah. It was a comedy. There was like a mystery interwoven as far as piecing stories together. I don't want to say too much to give away the story, but as far as piecing together parts of her husband's life. She's just a badass woman.
She's a girl boss.
Chemist turned TV show host. So she has like her own cooking show, and she approaches cooking through science. And as a science girly myself,
she said, science?
I studied a lot of science in college, so it was a little bit of a nerd read for me. There was a lot of chemistry references to it in it.
I'm so shy.
But I liked it. I really liked it. It was definitely a 5-star read for me. It was the best book of 2022 on Goodreads.
Was it?
I need to buy the physical copy.
Yeah.
I have to. I told myself I would only buy physical copies if they're a 5-star read, so.
Psych!
Okay, so the next one is smut, and this one's controversial. It's called Priest.
You need Jesus!
It's very blasphemous. I know. This is another smut book. I have the whole series here. This one is the first one. It's about Tyler, who's a priest. He gets this confession from Poppy. He starts fantasizing about her, and he just can't get enough of her. This book was so good. I mean, the way it was written, the way that the story was told, how he went back and forth with his faith and his love for her, because he does love her. I can see how it is very blasphemous based on what they do in the story and where.
To say the least.
To say the least. I can understand why a lot of people are like, I can't read that. That is just crossing boundaries. It is. This is why I'm questioning whether or not I'm getting to heaven. Alright?
I'm getting into heaven. And don't even. Better hope! Better hope! He's gonna pull up your TVR. He's gonna be like, what is this one? What is this? Huh? What is it? I'm gonna be like, that's Francis. I think you got it wrong. That's her list.
I gave this spice 5. This was like a 10.
The spice.
If you're not ready for it, don't pick it up. The book I also gave a 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next book.
Everybody hold your horses.
Book I read. She was pushing me to read it for the longest time. Okay, let me just show you. Okay, so this is the next book I read. It was Court of Silver Flames, the 5th book in the Court of Thorns and Roses series. Okay, let me just say, I was so hesitant to read this book because I was like,
Oh, here we go. It's gonna be about Nesta. I already don't like Nesta. What am I gonna learn from this?
Apparently a whole lot.
yeah, you guys, this book was without a doubt a 5-star read for me. And let me tell you why. I see a lot of people talking about this book and saying,
Oh, I wasted my time. If you relate to Nesta, like check on yourself.
I relate to Nesta. And I did have to check on myself. Cassie was teaching me how to fight. She was teaching me how to make friends. She was teaching me the importance of hobbies and girl power. You know, like I loved it. Proving to herself that she can grow out of just being that bitter Betty, you know? I relate to her and I'm unashamed of that. I definitely learned a lot from this book. It hit a chord for me.
It did. We cried,
Yeah.
laughed, and healed. Literally
yeah.
healed.
I loved it. I don't want to say too much because I know a lot of you guys are still reading it, or maybe you haven't jumped into it yet and it's the 5th book. But I will say, I jumped into this and I was like, nobody's gonna top Recent for me. Love him, he's the best. And then I read this book. Now I'm Team Cassian, baby. Cassian all the way. 5 stars. 5 stars for sure. It felt so nice to finish that series, and now this month for August I'm moving into Throne of Glass. And I just finished the first book.
I know. Finally. I'm just kidding. I do want to add to this book though, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, you know what? I don't like this book. Look, people who go through trauma, they don't get it. This was a redemption arc for her. So
Yeah.
the whole series, we hated her. But then for us to finally understand that she was her own enemy, that's the reason why she kept stopping herself from being loved and loving other people, is because she didn't feel like she deserved it. I'm so glad you read it.
It was so good. It was
Every
so
time I was messaging her like,
Did you read it? Did you get to this part yet? Are you there? Are you there?
so on to the next book. Okay, I know that these are all smut. I told you. After Praise, I was in my smut era. So this book is about sinners. So it's about the 3 brothers. This one's the oldest brother, Sean Bell. He runs into his best friend's little sister. So she's of age now. He hasn't seen her in a while, so he's pretty shocked. But finds out that she is on her way to be a nun. So now we already know how blasphemous this can be as well. I wasn't too into this book. No. And I think it's because I'm not sure I don't like him as a character or the whole situation. I don't know. It didn't hit me like Priest did, because he was really infatuated with her. He really liked her and loved her. This one was just a little bit more.
It just didn't do it for you.
Yeah, it just didn't do it for me. So I gave this a 3-star. Spice, of course, is maybe a 4. So you can skip this one out of the series if you want. And then pray after.
Great.
Because we're all going to heaven.
So the next book I read was also on my Kindle. It's actually a Kindle Unlimited book, and I saw it all over YouTube and BookTok. It's called Don't Let Her Stay by Nicholas Sanders, and it's a thriller. I think I told you about this, I'm not sure. It's about this woman who marries a much older man. They move into a new house, and his daughter from her previous marriage, she's like 20, 21 now. She's been estranged from her dad all this time. The main character doesn't know why, and the daughter comes to stay with them, basically. And so the title is called Don't Let Her Stay. The main character and his daughter are just kind of butting heads, and she's kind of thinking that she might want to kill him, or she might want to harm their new baby and stuff like that. So the whole time I read it, I was kind of like, what's going on? Like, who's the villain? The twist was very good. I think I gave it a 4-star. It was really good. It had me on the edge of my seat for sure.
All right, the last smut book. I promise this is the last smut book, and it's the last one of the series by Sierra Simone. This one is Saint. So this is the second to the youngest brother, Aiden. So he became a monk, and then his ex-boyfriend comes out of nowhere. It's been like 5 years, and chooses to come to his monastery and write articles about monks. Right? It's just like a journey of ex-boyfriends, second chance, basically. I loved this book. I actually really loved this book. It was a really sweet read. I gave this smut is smutting in this book. So beware.
Okay, so the next book I read this month was Notes on an Execution by Danya Kukovka. I hope I'm saying that right.
Nope.
This one, man, it was another 5-star read for
Love
me.
that book. Yeah. That
For
means
me.
she has to buy the book.
I have
Physical
to,
copy.
I have to buy the physical copy for sure. It was really good. It follows the story of a murderer named Ansel, and in present day, he's like an hour away from his execution, right? He's on death row. Interwoven are the stories of the women in his life that it's affected, like this girl he grew up with in a home, his ex-wife, her sister, his mother, and it was really about the concept of morality and like how it's not black and white. Everybody has some good in them, everybody has some bad in them, and you see that for every single character. I don't know, it read like a movie. Again, I definitely could see it being picked up, which I hope it does.
So my next read, they're fantasies. Book Talk made me get this. I had a love-hate relationship with this book. And the reason is because the writing style, for one, the characters, two, it's hard to envision them any older. Because I know that this is a YA book. So I bought this a month ago. But I put this off for so long. Book Talk made me get it because everybody was hyping it up. And I will say, I loved this book. I loved this book. The politics. I'm not really into politics like that. But when I say this is politics, it's like page after page after page. I had anxiety reading the whole series. I actually read the whole series in 2 days. So this was a day, and then I read the other 2 books back to back. It was that good. But again, the hard part was that I can't see the characters as adults. And the only reason is because everybody just wants power.
Right.
There's so much treachery going on, a lot of selfish choices, which I get, you know what I mean? But it was just hard for me to envision them as adults. Like in Throne of Glass and in Akatar, I know that they're also young, but I can envision them a little bit older. This one I cannot. The whole series, I just envision them as teenagers, like young teenagers. I think I gave this a 4-star, and only because that was the only fault in it. Again, this is a YA, so there's no smut. It's slow burn, enemies to lovers. I love enemies to lovers. It's basically following Jude, who is immortal, who gets raised in the Fae world, and she's trying to find her place in the Fae world. Like, she wants to be one of them. Throughout her whole journey, she's just trying to find power, how the Fae can basically respect her. Prince Cardin, she has like this hate relation, like they hate each other, but it's such a slow burn.
I knew you would love it.
I know, I loved this book, like loved it.
So, because we read the fine print, that really launched me into my romance era. And so I looked at my physical TBR and I realized I had some Emily Henry books on me. So it's Beach Read by Emily Henry, and I picked this one up because we went to the beach pretty quickly. Within the first few chapters, I was just hooked with Emily Henry's writing. She approaches romance in such a non-corny way. Like, she really talks about adult insecurities. I believe the main character in this one is 29.
I love that.
Yeah, so it was just very relatable in that way. It follows 2 writers, Augustus and January. Very unique names for very unique characters. I believe she writes women's fiction. He writes more literary fiction, more serious books.
Yeah.
And they've been rivals since college, I believe. They were in the same writing program. They find each other again, like in a small beach town, for different circumstances. When they link up again, he challenges her to write a literary fiction, and he'll try to write a rom-com. So they switch genres. And so it follows them all throughout the summer. Obviously there's romance in it, there's comedy in it. The banter was so good. It makes me want to read all of her books now. Like, I'm definitely in my romance era. I love it.
I think I added that to my TBR. No.
Here you go. Add it to the TBR.
my next book, fantasy, romance. I needed something to get me through after reading ACOTAR because I was waiting for you.
You were waiting for me to finish this.
Oh, so I was waiting for her to finish that. So I picked up, again because of book talk, The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This book was so good. I will tell you though, book talk lied to me and said that this
I want to curse.
this was a 2-book read. Lies. It is not. It is a 6-book series.
I don't know.
Yes, it is a 6-book series. The other books are not out yet because they're based off of the different houses. This one is the Crowns of Neaxia, which I think is the House of Night. So there's the House of Blood and then the House of Shadow. The other 4 books are going to be about those houses. Let me tell you something. This book was so good. I loved it. The writing was good. It went straight into the action. This is based off a badass female character, and she is a mortal in a vampire land. They live amongst each other, the humans and the vampires. Basically, her family was killed off, and she was taken in by the vampire prince king of the House of Night. And so he becomes her dad and teaches her how to fight. And she goes into this competition against other vampires from all of the houses so that Neaxia could grant her one wish. So she meets Rain, and he's basically just one of those male characters where you just fall in love with because he's funny, he's witty. I love male characters who respect boundaries. Like,
I like you, I want to make moves, but I respect you don't like that, I'm not going to touch you. And
you'll get it if you get it. This whole time they're going through this competition and they kind of have to rely on each other. It's just so good. I don't know if you can see it, but look at all my little... Damn! Yeah. I love it. I gave this a 5. There's no smut in this. I think there's only one scene, and it's like near the end. The spice is, I want to say like a 3 or 4. Nothing too crazy. Yeah. Pick this up. It's good, guys. Really good.
My last book for this month was Yearbook by Seth Rogen. I actually listened to the audiobook and read along with it because if you see all the people on here, basically all of these celebrities help voice the audiobook.
That's so cool.
It was really good. It was super funny. I love Seth Rogen. I think he's been a part of very classic comedies of our generation. And he also talks about his ventures as a filmmaker. I really enjoyed it. I'm very torn on rating people's memoirs. I can't give it a rating, but I will say I genuinely enjoyed it. I would recommend it if you're looking for something to get through quickly, and if you're in a reading slump. It's a different kind of memoir because they're all kind of short stories about his life, and every story is hilarious but also very wholesome. And like, yeah, there's a lot of photos in there, family, diagrams of like his childhood neighborhood. Please read it. Please read it.
Okay, so for my last book, which was the second book of A Crowns of Neaxia, is the Ash and the Star-Cursed King. Another 5 stars for me. A little bit more spice, a little bit more romance. The plot was so good. The twists and turns were really good. Even in the first book, again, action is like automatic. I don't like books where, I say this, but I still read them anyways, where books take a while for the action to start. I love books that just dive right in. This one was after the competition and what follows after. So like the alliances, it's a huge twist, so I can't go too much about like what happens in here, but just know that you have to read this. If you're in an ACOTAR slump or if you need another fantasy read, this one's good. If you've also read From Blood and Ash, yeah. If you're in a slump from that, this is a good pick-me-up.
I think those two, The Serpent and the Wings of Night and the second one, are on Kindle Unlimited, so I will definitely check that out.
I need this. Loved it. I think we did a really good job this month.
I think it was a really good reading month for us both. I think linking up with you definitely encouraged me to read more. I don't think I've read 9 books in a month.
Yeah.
before. So
Really?
yeah. And you know, we're new to the book community, and
Yeah,
everybody's
we
been
are.
so
You guys
nice.
have been so sweet.
Everyone's been so sweet. It's definitely encouraged me to read a lot more this month. You know, being on social media,
Yeah.
seeing all the books everybody's reading. I really enjoyed this.
Me too.
I had a lot of fun. That wraps up our July wrap up. All the books we read in July,
All of them.
plus my Kindle. Yeah. Thanks for checking us out.
Yeah. Thank you for watching as well. Again, this is our first video, so we appreciate you guys just holding on tight and watching the whole thing, hearing us cackle, hearing our reviews and our opinions. And again, our opinions doesn't mean that the book is what we say it is.
Yeah.
You know, you may have a different opinion. You may have different interests and tastes too. I don't always read smut, okay? So don't judge me based off of that.
It's true.
But yeah, we love the book community. We have explored different types of books because of you guys. So we are just appreciative. And we thank you and we love you. And we'll see you on our next.
Bye, guys.
Bye! So he meets. Bloopers! Okay, can I just say this first though?
No.
She read ACOTAR before me.
I did. I read the first 4 books before you. And then I was like,
Girl, get on your ACOTAR.
and then the next week she was telling me about book 5. I was like,
Whoa, wait! You're like, I haven't gotten there yet. And I was like, well,
okay, we can cut a lot. We can cut a lot. Anyways.
Anyway, it's based off of a bad. Can I say badass? Okay, well, badass.
Say it, girl.
Say it with your
Say it.
chest. It's my purse. Her way to be a nun. What? What?
I'm sorry. Oh my god, I got the giggles now.
I said it right. I said nun.
Like Ray J? That's the
Yeah,
one.
basically, yeah. So they can grant a wish, right?